Okay, so let's talk about something that drives website owners absolutely crazy. Have you ever stared at your Google page speed score, looked at your website, and just thought, this makes zero sense? I mean, your site feels fast, right? It loads in a snap for you, but Google's over there giving you this terrible grade. It's one of the biggest frustrations out there. So let's just dive in and figure out what is really going on.
And hey, if you're feeling that way, you are so not alone. This quote right here is from a developer, and man, does it hit the nail on the head. It really feels like we're all trying to play a game where the rules are kind of fuzzy, and the scoreboard just doesn't seem to match the reality that we're seeing with our own eyes. And that leads us right to the big question, the whole reason we're here. Why is there such a massive disconnect? Why does a site that seems totally fine to you get a thumbs down from the very tool that's supposed to be helping you out? Well, believe it or not, the answer is actually simpler than you'd think, and once you get it, it changes everything. And here it is, the whole mystery. It really just boils down to one single fundamental difference, the lab versus the real world. That page speed test you just ran, that's the lab. But Google is living out here in the messy, chaotic real world. Let's break down exactly what that means. This right here explains it all. That page speed score you're obsessing over, that's what we call lab data. The best analogy is a car's official mileage rating, the one they get on a perfect test track with no wind and no traffic. But what Google actually uses to rank your site in search results, that's field data. That's your car's real gas mileage when you're stuck in traffic, going uphill, in the rain. It's the collected experience of thousands of your actual users over the last 28 days. Okay, so if Google is looking at thousands of real-world visits to judge your site, what are they actually looking for? It's not just about speed in a general sense. They're measuring the actual quality of a user's experience with three very specific metrics. And these metrics are called the Core Web Vitals. They are laser-focused on three parts of how a real person perceives your site: how quickly it seems to load, how fast it responds when they try to do something, and how stable everything is on the screen. So first up, we have LCP, which stands for Largest Contentful Paint. Now, this isn't about how long your entire page takes to load from top to bottom. It's about how long it takes for the biggest, most important thing the user sees to show up. That main hero image or that big headline. It's Google's way of measuring that first impression loading speed. And the target here is super clear. You want that main piece of content to pop up in under 2.5 seconds. That's what gets you a good score. If you're taking more than 4 seconds, that's considered poor. Next up is INP, or Interaction to Next Paint. This one is all about responsiveness. Think about it. When a user clicks a button or tries to open a menu or taps on an image, how long does it take before they see something happen? That tiny delay is what INP measures. And what's really tricky is that Google often bases its score on the slowest interaction a user has on that page. And the goal here is, wow, it's fast. For good experience, that visual response needs to happen in under 200 milliseconds. That is literally faster than the blink of an eye. Anything longer than that just starts to feel laggy and frustrating. And finally, there's CLS, Cumulative Layout Shift. And this one, oh man, this one captures a frustration we have all felt. When you go to click on a button and just as your cursor gets there, bam, an ad loads and pushes the whole page down, and you click on the wrong thing? That's layout shift. CLS is the metric that measures how much your page content unexpectedly jumps and wiggles around. The goal for this one is a score of less than zero point 0.1. It's kind of a weird unitless number, I know, but the easiest way to think about it is this. The closer to zero, the better. It's a measure of how stable and predictable your page is. All right, so that's the theory, right? We get the whole lab versus real-world thing, and we know the three vitals Google is measuring. Now for the important part, let's get practical and talk about how you can actually start fixing these scores. To improve that LCP score, you need to think top of the page first. Your hero image is usually the problem, so make sure it's a simple, optimized image tag, not a background image in your CSS, which loads way slower. And please, get rid of those huge, heavy image sliders at the top of the page. A great little trick is to use a CSS rule called Font Display Swap. It tells the browser to just show the text in a default font right away, and then swap in your fancy font once it's ready. No more invisible text. Now, fixing INP, it's almost always about one thing: JavaScript. See, your web browser can really only do one major task at a time on its main thread. If that thread is busy running a bunch of complicated scripts, it literally can't respond to your user's click. So the solution is to lighten the load. Get rid of code you're not using and be super critical about those third-party scripts like chat widgets or ad trackers. They are notorious for hogging all the resources and making your site feel sluggish. And for that super annoying layout shift, the fix is all about being predictable. The number one cause is images loading without their size being specified. Always tell the browser the width and height of an image or video so it can save the right amount of space for it ahead of time. It's like reserving a parking spot. Do the same for ads or any other content that loads in late. Just reserve a spot for it and it won't shove everything else down the page.
So, after all this technical talk about milliseconds and scores, it's really easy to get lost in the weeds. But the single most important thing to take away from all this is actually a shift in your mindset. It's about who you're building your website for. And this is the absolute key. Core Web Vitals are not just some arbitrary rules Google made up to make our lives harder. They are a proxy for human frustration. A slow load time, a laggy button, a jumpy layout. These are all things that make real people have a genuinely bad experience on your website. If you focus on making the experience awesome for them, your Google scores, they will just naturally follow. So that's the question I want to leave you with. When you're working on your site, are you chasing a perfect score in a sterile lab environment? Or are you designing a tough, resilient experience that works for thousands of different people on slow connections, on old phones, in the middle of all the chaos of the real, messy world? Because how you answer that question, that will define your success.